Hello and welcome back to the Chatgate podcast, where I discuss media in the forms of reviews and topical-based discussions. I'm your host, Dragon King Thomas Hughes, and today I'm doing what I promised, a couple of weeks ago now. I said last week I still was planning to do it, so I'm actually doing it, and that is re-reviewing Jaws, which obviously celebrates its 50th anniversary, well, pretty much today. So I reviewed Jaws way back in 2020 as my first ever podcast on the old podcast. And I just thought, you know what, I'm going to give a re-review of it, which will more than likely be very similar in terms of my opinions on it, because my opinions have not changed whatsoever on this movie. But obviously, instead of being two people talking about it, it'd be just one. So I thought, fuck it, let's do this. I rewatched it this morning. Stupidly watched it when I was half asleep, so obviously at the ending I kind of fell asleep during, because I was just that tired. I had to rewatch the last half hour when I finally woke up. So, you know, it's not a problem because I've watched this movie so many fucking times that if I fall asleep once, it's not a problem because I've fucking seen it what feels like a million times. Not actually a million times, but, you know, it feels like a million times because obviously Jaws for me is one of the movies that fully got me into cinema. It's a movie that I've loved ever since I first saw it. I don't actually remember exactly how old I was when I first saw it. I got to be young-ish, but not young. But obviously, it's a movie that, obviously, when I first watched it, was terrifying. But obviously, over the years, it's become less terrifying because obviously I've got older. I can see it's clearly a fake shark. But of course, when I'm you're a young kid watching this, it probably is fucking terrifying. Back when I was younger, you know. 20 years. Well, yeah, 20 years ago. I have watched it when I was before I was the age of 10 easily. Had to have been. But obviously with all the fucking media you get nowadays, there's probably stuff that's probably more terrifying to watch than this now as a child. But still, it's a movie that stoked fear in a lot of people when it first came out. I mean, shark exploitation is the word. Obviously, not just for Jaws, but for a lot of killer shark movies. And obviously, Jaws is one of the reasons I absolutely love killer shark movies. Even like really bad ones, I can get some level of entertainment out of. Not all of them. There's a couple I could fucking just throw at binks at dog shit. But most, I can get some level of entertainment out of them because of this movie drawing me into the subgenre of killer animals. And as I say, I have to watch it at least like 2, maybe 3 times a year, and I've been lucky enough to see it obviously on DVD, well VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, obviously digital technically. I watched it in cinema, which I was so thankful when I finally got to watch it in cinema. They usually put it in like once a year in cinemas, or once every like couple of years, and the last time obviously before I actually went to watch it. The showings were just awful. There was no showings whatsoever, and I was kind of pissed off. I never got to actually watch it. But then, a year, maybe 2 ago now, it's been that long. They finally put it in cinema. And I just jumped at it. I was like, "Fuck this! I'm watching this in cinema," and it was an absolute blast watching the big screen. I watched an orchestratic performance of it, where they've played the movie in the background and had a live orchestra playing the magnificent score from by John Williams. So I've seen it in a few different ways, a few different formats, and each time I watch it, I'm just amazed by what I'm seeing because it's a visual treat. The cinematography is incredible. The score, as I say, by John Williams is just beautiful, and it enhances the scenes and makes this sequence is so much more terrifying to watch. The acting's pretty decent. It's obviously led by Ruth Scheider and the likes of Richard Dreyfuss. They obviously bring these characters to life much better than the book counterparts because I have read the book. Well, I've listened to the audiobook version of it, and I know obviously I was getting into a slightly different story in terms of like some little side plots that aren't in the actual movie, but I was hoping to at least come out of it going, that's not bad. I mean, I listened to Jurassic Park and walked out of that going, yeah, it's not as good as the movie, but I still enjoyed it. But obviously when I put my phone down after listening to Jaws, I was very disappointed in the actual source material for it. I just thought some of the side plots were just fucking awful. And I'm so happy that they went, you know what, let's take these out in the movie adaptation. It's not needed. We don't need this adultery plot line. We don't need this like gangster plot line that was in there. We don't need that crap. What we're selling here is a thriller about a killer shark causing chaos in obviously a beachfront town, a town that requires the beach to draw people in, and it requires it for its funding at a specific point in the year, the summer. It requires everyone to basically jump on this, because throughout the rest of the year, not many people are going to be visiting for the beach because the weather's shit and whatnot. So it requires, specifically the 4th of July weekend, to rake in all this money for the businesses, for the town itself. So seeing, obviously, them go, okay, let's make this movie about a shark basically fucking this all up, and watch how the people react to it, and let's focus on this, obviously, police chief who's obviously an out-of-towner, who's obviously moved here, and how he's having to deal with hunting down this shark to basically protect the town. And so the story for how they condense it into the movie is perfect. I mean, when I was rewatching it this morning, I was sitting there going, this movie is so well paced. Like, I've seen plenty of movies where it's obviously got some sort of monster plot or whatever, or there's some horror elements to it, but that level of it is usually like, it may be saved for like a certain part in the movie, or specifically maybe for its last act. Like, for example, Sinners recently, where obviously I kind of went into it expecting this vampire movie, and it was, but it was its last act that was the vampire movie. Whereas Jaws, obviously, you're going into it as, okay, it's a shark killing people, and this movie does a good job of placing the attack sequences perfectly throughout this 2-hour runtime to allow it to flow correctly. I mean, from the opening sequence to the, obviously, Alex hitting the death, to then, even when you haven't got the shark technically, so for example, the Ben Gardner boat scene, there's no shark in this sequence, but the tenseness is there. You know that your brain's thinking, okay, any minute now, this shark could just appear in front of Richard Dreyfuss's character, Hooper, and you're like, okay, where is it? Where is it? And when it doesn't actually appear, you're like, okay, my heart stopped beating heavily, but still, that was a very tense sequence. Obviously, the beach scene later on, and then to the point of when they're actually hunting the shark on the ocean, they perfectly place the shark attack sequences, or at least the very intense sequences where a shark may be involved throughout this movie at the right points, where the audience is going to calm down a bit afterwards, and then bam, it's hitting you again. So I feel like this movie is so well paced. It's not something I've really noticed heavily over the years, but when I've sat down to rewatch it now for this, I looked at it and I was like, no, I can see this now, that how well paced this movie is. I mean, it's not just well paced, it's a movie that's chock full of iconic moments. And when you watch classic movies, you sometimes have like one or two scenes of like you obviously will be remembered throughout time. Obviously things will spoof or whatnot, but Jaws is just chock full of them. I say the opening death sequence is iconic. The obviously Alex hitting the death is really well done, and memorable. The boat scene when the guy's trying to help the kids who are trying to obviously learn to sail, and it drags him under. That's fucking just terrifying to watch. As this, like, you see the face of the shark just drag him under. Obviously the boat obviously any sequence on the boat at the end, with obviously the iconic lines of obviously you're gonna need a bigger boat, or smile you son of a bitch. It's just chock full of so many moments that you just remember, no matter what, and you'll always be drawn back going, oh, that's a scene from Jaws. And so a lot of movies will have a few moments, but this is just full of moments that are just amazing. Even like moments where it's not as memorable, but when you're rewatching it, you go, okay, that scene, it may not be like one of the iconic scenes, but it is quite funny to remember. For example, when they catch and kill the tiger shark, and the characters are asking, oh, what kind of shark is it? And obviously Hooper responds, and this is the response from the one guy of how he's like, a what? But in like the most stupidest fucking way possible. And it's something me and Hayden obviously pointed out when we first obviously reviewed it. It was like that scene is just, it's just the acting is, it's bad, but a memorable way of bad, not like this, like just it's not just like something that's absolutely awful. It's a scene that obviously, as I say, is acted not the best from that one actor, but it's something that sticks to you because it's like that, like does not fit in this scene whatsoever. It should be like, what? But it's just like, oh, it's just something I always remember. But as I say, it's everything about this movie is absolutely perfect. Obviously, the build up to when they actually go out on the Orca is really well done. So the moments when the shark's attacking, causing chaos, are just beautiful to watch because it's chock full of tension. It's chock full of great music in the background. I mean, the music itself is just phenomenal. I can listen to the soundtrack over and over again. Yes, it's got that iconic, obviously, single line of music, a single piece of music, the dun dun. But a lot of the other tunes in it are very memorable from like the more heroic sort of, like they're going out on the adventure when it becomes kind of like adventure type music, to just like the pure horror, obviously, of the sounds of dread as before the shark music fully hits. It's a beautiful piece of score from John Williams, which it's not a surprise that when obviously we hosted our first ever award show back in 2020 when we did the Chat Cave Awards, when it's more about things we'd covered on the podcast, dishing out awards for them rather than how we do it now, where it's obviously actual movies that have been released in the year, and TV shows, games, yada yada. And we did it more based on what we was covering on the podcast. It's no surprise that this soundtrack is what won our first ever award based on score, because as I say, John Williams just blew it out of the park with this, and Steven Spielberg blew it out of the park with the entire fucking movie. That has just stuck with me for so long. And I mean, I've got so much merchandise for Jaws. I mean, I'm wearing a Jaws t-shirt right now, the classic poster shirt. I mean, I've got a Cookie Monster rendition of it. I've got a cat rendition of it. I've got other Jaws shirts, obviously, like Quinn's boat shop on it. I used to have like an animated looking t-shirt, which was pretty cool, but I don't know what happened to that. It's too small for me. Never could wear it because I got the wrong fucking size. But I could never take it back because I got it from a Comic-Con. So it was the case of, shit, that was a waste of money. I mean, not a waste of my money, but waste of money. And obviously, you can't see it. It's actually above me this side. If you're watching the video, you obviously where I'm pointing. Obviously, I've got a Jaws art piece on the wall, which is a pretty cool shot of the three characters in like a very dark setting with what can be very clearly seen as a pair of some teeth underneath the orca and a lot of red on it. It's a beautiful piece of fucking of a poster. I used to have a little version of it stuck to my wall, and when I finally got my hands on the actual big poster, I was so grateful for it. I mean, I've got Funko Pops on it. I've got the Tubbs Ducks, and I really do want the new one they released, which is the actual orca ship, which is pretty cool. I've got the Lego set, which obviously I built Christmas just gone, which took a while, but it was absolutely worth it because it's a beautiful fucking Lego piece. I'm trying to think what else I got. Jaws related. I got clocks. I've got mugs. But one of the mugs got a sock in it. I could be wrong. I've got the T-shirt from when I went to watch the stage production, and obviously I've got the actual I can always forget what the fuck these are called. I can't. My brain's just. It happened when I actually wanted it, and I was like, oh, I know what it's called. And then when it came to actually trying to remember what these books are referred to as, my brain was like, one of them, please. But yeah, I'll see. I went to watch that a couple of 2 months ago now. Month ago? No, yeah, a month ago. I went to watch it in May. Program. It's a program. That's the word I'm after. And this was a fun watch because obviously it's obviously a stage production which is written by Ian Shaw, who's the son of Robert Shaw, the actually played Quint. And it focuses, obviously, it's a whole show, pretty much of a comedy show of them just arguing on obviously a stage version of the Orca, showing obviously all the quote unquote shenanigans that were happening while they were filming. Obviously, this is a more takes it to the extreme. It didn't happen exactly like this, but obviously they've had fun with the whole situation. And as I say, it was an absolute blast to watch. It was really fun. I mean, they've been doing it since pre-COVID, and I never thought actually I'd be able to go and watch it. But luckily, the closest place I could get to had it on, and I was like, that seems pretty cool. And I got sent some money to pay for most of it. Well, to pay for all of it technically, but that was for a day that I couldn't actually attend, which was like I think it was like a Tuesday night, and that was more the case of less of I couldn't attend, more of Hayden wouldn't be able to attend because obviously work. So then, okay, we'll go. I think it was the Thursday in the end. I think I went, and I was like, okay, we'll go in the afternoon because we can get back. We'll have enough time for you to get to sleep afterwards, and we won't have to worry about fucking catching a late bus from Birmingham, because that's always the worry when we go to stuff that down there is when we go later, it's worrying about catching the last bus back. Thankfully, we didn't have to worry about that. Obviously, it cost me an extra £20 for the tickets, because obviously I got £740 for my birthday, but obviously because the tickets were a bit more than what they obviously were for that day. And the tickets for the day were supposed to go with like £20 each, something like that. But the day I wanted to go was a bit more, so it cost like I think it cost about 60 in the end. So it was near enough an extra like £10 a ticket, which as I say, for what it was worth it because it was a fun experience, and for the fact that I absolutely loved Jaws, it was something I was always going to jump on if the tickets were reasonable and it was available. Because as I say, Jaws is something that just every time I watch it, I'm mesmerized. But obviously, it's something it's that stuck in it's that loved and beloved in pop culture that it's spawned so many moments where they parodied it. They've utilized sequences in other shows as jokes. I mean, the Keith and Paddy Picture Show literally did an entire episode dedicated to Jaws, which is just hilarious. I'm trying to think. Family Guy obviously made plenty of jokes about Jaws, and as I say, it's then spawned other movies that obviously are shark based. It's not just spawned other shark movies, it's had an impact on killer animals in general. Because I mean, the amount of movies that came out after this that were very clearly inspired by Jaws, the likes of Grizzly, Piranha, Orca, the list just goes on and on and on. And they say even like the modern day movies that are obviously shark based or just killer animal based have probably some level of obviously sorry, I'm after here. Now the word's gone at the back of my head. Some level of homage at least to Jaws, because as I say, this is kind of what kickstarted the killer animal genre into the extreme, essentially. Like, it's what made it a bit more mainstream. And as I say, it's definitely what made the likes of shark movies more mainstream. There's a whole documentary on Shudder, which is a really interesting documentary called Shark Exploitation, which went through basically years and years of shark movies. Obviously, the ones that were pre-Jaws, the couple that were there before that where sharks were involved. But obviously, the main talking point was that Jaws is what spawned, as I say, this shark genre with multiple other movies, and I say it spawned this whole idea of animals going killer and being a more thriller type situation. I say Piranha definitely is a straight up copy of it. I mean, Killer Crocodile, the Italian films. I mean, it's not even like just American film companies that went, okay, Jaws is great, let's like try and replicate that success. Like foreign films also went through that route of trying to have their own Jaws. Obviously, yes, they were never as beloved, but there's certain ones obviously do have some level of love. I mean, Piranha, for the fact that it spawned a TV remake, an actual big screen remake, and a sequel to that, and even the original had a sequel. Grizzly had 2 movies, despite the fact the second one you can watch for a long time. Now you can. I mean, Jaws itself spawned multiple movies. Yes, the sequels may not have been as good. The only decent one really was Jaws 2. Jaws 3 was meh, and then Jaws 4 is just, we don't talk about Jaws 4, simple as that. Take a leaf out of Encanto's book and just don't talk about Bruno, but in this case, don't talk about Jaws the Revenge, because that movie sucked ass, and the only worthwhile part was Michael Caine. But as I say, it's just something that had such an impact on Hollywood. I mean, wasn't it like one of the highest grossing movies of all time at the point? And for quite a while, really, I'm pretty certain it was. Obviously, nowadays, obviously, really it's chump change compared to what some movies can make these days. But at the time, it was a fucking big deal. I mean, I know obviously I'm not old enough to have been around when it came out, but I mean, I would have loved to have gone watching this when it first came out and experienced it for the first time. Pretty much like a sold out cinema. I mean, when I went to watch it, and obviously it's re-release, I wouldn't say sold out, but it was quite a few people in there. But it was just experiencing it for the first time on a big screen without actually having the knowledge of watching it beforehand would have been just amazing. But as I say, it's just one of those things where, I'm not old enough to have experienced that. I will say that I'm glad that they haven't remade it yet, because I feel like, it could tarnish it. I don't mind the idea of them maybe doing a sequel that kind of like gets rid of the shitty ass, third and fourth movie, but knowing them, they'll probably get rid of the second one as well. I don't mind like a sequel, requel technically, to the first one. I wouldn't mind something like that, like them revisiting the idea and just trying to maybe follow like a Descendant or something. I've always said that. I think I may have pointed that out during like when we covered like the quadrilogy back in 2020. Obviously, that'd be quite a cool idea, them like revisiting it that way rather than just rebooting it. But to be fair, we've had films like The Meg, and I say a fucking handful of other killer shark movies to sort of satisfy our needs of not needing a Jaws sequel or remake. Because as I say, it's just a movie that has it's such an iconic movie that it should just be left and not touched. I feel like the only way they're probably, I'm pretty certain Steven Spielberg's the one that's like stopping them from actually like developing any like a remake or something. So if it is him, good job, because the only way you can replicate this is if you had like an actual really good cast. But then again, the problem is, if they try to remake it, would they go with the route of having more of the shark? Because since obviously the original movie didn't have much of the shark because the animatronic one being fucked at times, would they go the route of having more of it? Because I'm guessing they'd go with the CGI route, and I feel like that would ruin it. Because I think what helps this movie is the lack of visual of it at times. It's just the idea of it's there, and I feel like that's what helps sell this movie even more. So thank fuck the shark broke multiple times, or else we wouldn't have such a beautiful movie. We wouldn't even have a stage production called The Shark is Broken, because it would be the shark was working. So I'm fucking thankful that it was not the best practical effect at the time, because as I say, it salvaged. Well, it just enhanced the movie really more than salvaged it. It just enhanced it, because it just meant that when you got the shark, it was an experience rather than just it's always there. I'll have a quick drink. Hold on a sec. I'm talking too long. They're taking a break, so I require sustenance, just like a shark requires sustenance. Obviously, the only bad thing that ever came from Jaws was the fact that obviously the complete fear of sharks that people got, to the point of sharks were literally being hunted and killed because people was like, oh, they're monsters, they're killers, when reality is that they're not. I mean, they can be, but they're not as killer as the movie portrays them. They're not specifically going to go and target all these individuals and go after them and kill them. I mean, especially if you look at like the sequels, when they're, especially the fourth one, it's fucking like specifically targeting these specific characters. It's like yeah, they don't work like that. The sharks don't work like that. So that's the only really bad thing you can ever say about this movie is the fact that it spawned this fear. I know the book to an extent spawned some fear to sharks, but the movie just like catapulted it into the extreme because obviously it made it more mainstream and it made it more global for everyone to see this shark eating people. And obviously, people then saw sharks as essentially serial killers, despite the fact that that is not how it works. But yeah, still, it's just a movie I can't not admire. I mean, I rewatched the second one a few weeks ago. I think it was. I was like, I'm not rewatching the first one because I'm saving that for this. But obviously, I I kind of want to watch a shark movie, and I was like, I'll watch Jaws 2. And as I do actually really enjoy Jaws 2, and I think compared to when I first reviewed, I think when I reviewed it back in 2020, I gave it like a 6 maybe out of 10. Obviously, I've enjoyed it a lot more since then, so it has gone up a bit. I mean, even Jaws 3 really has gone up slightly since I last, obviously, since I reviewed it back 5 years ago. But Jaws Revenge will always sit where it is. I mean, I haven't watched Jaws Revenge since I watched it with Hayden for the review. I haven't watched it in 5 years, and I don't want to watch it anytime soon, unless there's nothing else on and I've got no choice to watch it. But thankfully, other things have been on, and I've been distracted by other stuff, and specifically the other entries in the Jaws franchise to draw me in, rather than that movie. So, but yeah, it's just I just can't not love this movie. So the deaths are incredible, the cinematography great, the music great, the acting good. It's just a masterpiece of American cinema, and it's just a masterpiece in general of a movie. And it's a rare occasion of a adaptation that's superior to what it's adapting. Because when you look at adaptations, which obviously, like I did last week with the Head Train Dragon one, yes, these new one's really good, but the animated one's still going to be superior to it, despite the fact that to me they're very similar. Well, of course, they have the exact same plot, but in terms of like how I feel to them, they're very similar. I'd always choose the animated one over this. Whereas with Jaws, the book was a letdown, but the movie adaptation itself was incredible. I feel like at the time, maybe when the book first came out, yes, I understand why it had like these rave reviews and whatnot. But I think because of this movie coming out, the movie just tainted the book to the extent of you're watching the film and go, they handled this so much better than this book did, which as I say is a shame because I like listening to audiobooks now. I mean, I've been listening to audiobooks now probably for the past like 5 years, and I've listened to plenty of like killer animal flick books. I mean, if I quickly get them up, no, I don't care that I'm not connected to my network. Audiobooks. I mean, in terms of killer animals, say I've listened to the entire Meg series on an audiobook. I mean, I like the movies again, but the books, apart from the third and fourth book, I'm not a big fan of that book series as well. There's some choices in it that I'm not a fan of, as Jaws, Jurassic Park, Congo. I mean, even ones that haven't been adapted to a movie or TV show. There's a book called Scar by Marco Cole, which was an interesting read. Fathomless, which obviously was one that was again about like a megalodon shark, which is pretty good. Abyss as well, which was a follow up. Leviathan, I think, was the third one in that series. I think yes, it was. Because obviously it was a trilogy of books, and that was obviously a decent like listen. That I enjoyed. I think if I remember correctly, I enjoyed that a lot more than I enjoyed the Meg series. But then obviously there's the one I recently listened to. If I go through all my audiobooks, because I have fucking loads of them. I enjoy listening to them. Fresher, which obviously followed a Fresher Shark, which I've not really seen anything or heard anything about in terms of like movies. It's always just Great White or Bull, but the Fresher one was a breath of fresh air. So as I say, it's an example of a adaptation that's better than its what it's adapting. So I feel like in that sense, I'd have to stick with a 10 out of 10 for Jaws. It just has to be. Nothing you say will change that statement. Pretty certain that pretty much covers everything. So obviously, if you've seen Jaws, put your thoughts on it in the comments below. Obviously, if you've seen any of the sequels, put your thoughts on them as well. Your ordering of the sequel, obviously, of the franchise, which ones you prefer, which one you don't. What other killer shark or killer animal flicks do you enjoy watching? And obviously, would you ever be interested in a return to the Jaws franchise or not? Because, it's one of those ones where it could be a good thing, could be a bad thing if they do ever return to it. So it's just one of those things. And yeah, obviously you can check out the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Audible, etc., etc. You can check it out obviously on YouTube, where you can see all the other content I have available, including the original four reviews of the Jaws franchise. And I did technically cover 2 videos on the Maneater game, which obviously was a shark game, which was really fun to play. Other than that, I can't think of anything else. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.
If you like what you've seen, don't be afraid to throw us a little like and subscribe. That's always very appreciated over here. And, well, I'll see you on the next video.